You're listening to Pink Lady Presents, only on LA Talk Radio.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna take the town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live until I die.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Pink Lady Presents It Ain't Over Till You Say It's Over, a program filled with lives well lived. I don't know what to do at this moment. I don't know whether to stand or sit, because, you know, when you salute a military person, sometimes you're sitting, sometimes you're standing. So I'm going to just stand for a second. And I'm going to salute my guest. There you go. Probably incorrect. Am I?
No, you
I
always
did okay.
standing.
Always standing. There we go. You see, I did it right. I have to ask Chaplain Dove because, as you know, he's in the military for 4 years in the Air Force and a chaplain. And right beside me is a very glamorous lady from the military world. It is United States Air Force Brigadier General, I say that again, USA Air Force Brigadier General Ruth Wong. And I say that with pride in my voice. God bless you. Hello.
Hello, Pink. It's wonderful to be here with you today.
Oh, my God. Thank you. Thank you. You know what? I don't even know where to begin. First of all, I have to go back a little, and you have to tell our audience, why did you choose the path that you did about going into the service? Because she spent 34 years of your life. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I was in nursing school. I was a senior at the time in Chicago, Illinois. And most of my classmates were dating. They were getting engaged.
Well, yeah.
And I was doing neither. And I decided that I needed to do something in my life. And one day, the recruiters, the military recruiters, came to my nursing school.
Oh.
We had the Navy, the Army,
Wow.
and the Air Force.
Okay, wow.
So I listened to all three of them, and I decided it's going to be the Air Force.
Oh, my goodness.
I love the color blue, just like you love the color pink.
Right.
Blue was my color. And I also liked the idea that I could be a flight nurse.
Oh,
And I wanted to
yeah.
be able to take care of patients and to fly. And I thought that would be a terrific marriage.
Oh, my God. When you say flight nurse to our audience, did you take care of people on board the plane or just a flight nurse in the Air Force? I mean, what is, when you say flight nurse, can you describe that, what
Well,
that means?
in the Air Force, there are several different steps.
Good.
One of which is general duty nurse, which I
Okay.
did when I first came in the military.
And that is on the ground.
And that is in a hospital
Okay,
setting,
there you go.
and it can be in the field as well. It can be in a hospital or in the field.
Okay.
And then after a few years, after you have enough experience, you can qualify by going to school and becoming a flight nurse. So I took a course in the military, and first of all, I had to know how to swim, which I didn't.
Oh.
So I had to learn how to swim.
Wait a minute, you were up in the air.
I
That
was-
was in case of anything. Okay.
That was in case,
I-
if in case we had an accident,
Okay.
and we had to what we call ditch the aircraft in the
Yes,
water.
yes.
I had to be able to swim and set up a raft for my patients.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
You had to know how to do that.
Yes, and see, that was the real reason I didn't go into the Navy, because I couldn't swim.
I love it. I love it. So there it was. You had to do it.
I did.
Oh, my goodness.
I
Now,
did.
how long did it take you to learn all this?
Well, the course itself was 3 months, and I graduated from the course, and then I had to go back to my home unit, my base,
Right.
and I had to get qualified on the aircraft.
So what does that entail? Now?
That entails working with an instructor who guides you along the way.
Okay.
On how you're going to configure the aircraft, because you have to set the whole aircraft up to accommodate the patients that are coming aboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not just the passengers. Now you have to like minus passengers in a way to set up for what, a bed, or how is that?
We actually set it up for litters. So we would set up the aircraft for litters, and we would bring the patients in on litters, and we would set them up on the aircraft. And just like you would have
Bunk
an
beds.
apartment building, a condominium, one on top,
Oh, wow.
below the other.
Really?
Yes. So we usually did 4 deep, and then on the sides of the aircraft, we would have ambulatory patients.
Ambulatory meaning they can walk and
They
everything,
can walk.
correct?
On
Correct.
their own power, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So how did you, I'm just curious now, there are 4, okay, how did you decide, I think that's a good word, who was here, who was here, who was here, and who was here? By the wounds, by the, how serious their wounds were?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to know.
The patients that needed more attention, more nursing care, were those usually at
bottom.
the waist level.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And those that were not as severe or in need of extra nursing care
Right.
were on the top. Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So now you said you're say you were here, where you were, Desert Storm.
I was in Desert
Right.
Storm. Mhm.
Okay. So the plane lands.
Yes.
Now tell me what happens, right from the beginning.
Yes.
Our audience, I mean, this is like a movie. we
So
could make a movie
we
of this.
could make a
yeah.
movie.
I can
Well,
be a director.
actually, they have made movies of this.
Really?
If you watch MASH, it was sort of like that, but they
Oh,
came
yeah,
down in
we
a
talked about
helicopter.
that, yeah.
Yes, but
Okay.
in my case, it was an actual aircraft, and inside the aircraft, there was a big door or a ramp in the back. And so when the aircraft would land, the ramp would go down,
Okay.
and that is how we got the
them on.
patients on
Right.
board and how we got them off board the aircraft.
Were you flying C-130s?
Yes,
at the
I
time?
was.
Okay.
I was flying
'Cause I went-
C-130s.
When I went into the Air Force, we both chose the same branch of service.
Air Force,
And we both
Air
liked
Force.
blue.
Yeah.
But we went from McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey to the Azores, and then we refueled and we went to Orly Field in Paris. And I had bases in France, Spain, Morocco, Libya, and Germany.
Was that the same plane? The
At
C-something?
C-130, right.
C-130.
Coming back, they had jets, but going, it was all prop. In the 60s, everything was a propeller
Yeah,
plane.
yeah.
And
Took us
how big
forever.
a plane was it? How big was
Oh,
the
they-
C-1?
They were
Well,
pretty-
actually, you could fit 92 people aboard
No
the aircraft.
way.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and that with the litters, you mean?
Now with the litters,
How
just
many-
the ambulatory. But with the litters, we could set up 40 litters and 30 ambulatory.
They were big planes.
They were
they were
big
big
planes.
enough to drive vehicles in and out.
Now, on a plane, after you loaded everybody on, now the plane takes
Takes off.
Okay. It's moving.
Yes.
Now, how do you, I guess with a lot of care and everything, how do you manipulate, God bless you, to care for these people? I mean, some had IVs, am I right? I mean,
Yes.
set that up. I mean,
Correct.
you're talking all these intricate medical things. How do you do that? How do you control that?
Well, we have certain
I
equipment.
mean, because you're beautiful, you can control anything. But how did you really control
Well,
this here?
There's certain equipment that you
Okay.
use aboard the aircraft that was specially made for the aircraft.
Okay.
And so, for example, you talked about an IV.
Yes.
Well, we had IVs aboard the aircraft, but we had different devices that we could secure things down so they wouldn't move.
Yes. Yes.
And the other thing is, if we had turbulence in the aircraft,
I was going to say, hello, like they say, we're coming into a little turbulent weather. What do you do?
yeah. So you strap yourself, and we had straps to the litter so that we could stand and take care of the patient while we were
Wow.
standing,
Oh, my
but not
goodness.
fall down
Right.
or
Yeah,
or
that
hurt
wouldn't do
herself.
anybody any good.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
One of the
Ruth.
byproducts of this program
Yeah.
is there will be people in nursing schools watching this who are going to run down to their local recruiter
Yes.
and say, I want to be like her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yes,
'cause
And
we
that
can
is a
always use
wonderful
more
thing.
nurses. Yes.
And you know, Dove, you brought up a really good point, because one of the things that I consider myself is a champion or an ambassador for young people.
Yes,
To educate them so they get to know about what the military is.
That's right.
Because they don't know.
No, they don't. All they
have
know is
no
the word.
idea.
That's
right.
right.
Yeah. I want to share something that just happened. Total coincidence, folks. We had no idea this was going to happen. But just a short time ago, 2 weeks ago, we were both part of a panel to help our
Oh.
congressmen select the nominees
I heard.
to go to the Army, Air Force, Naval, and Merchant Marine academies.
Yes.
And we were in different panels, so I don't know what the caliber of your students. I will tell you, the people that I saw, our country is in great shape.
Yes.
Because any and all of them are such amazing, and they're
Tell them the
17
age.
and
There
18
you go,
years
the
old.
age. I couldn't
They're high
believe
school
it.
students.
Couldn't believe it.
These kids that I interviewed that day were
We're
exceptional.
both men, but both boys and girls. not
Yes,
just, you know.
both. Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
of
exactly.
course, yeah.
They're all seniors in high school,
Love it.
Right.
looking to have a military career.
Right.
And they are the best of the best. I mean,
I heard
all of
4.2 and 4. and
Oh,
this, I mean,
amazing.
amazing. I heard.
amazing, very, very smart. Many of them wanted to go into engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering,
Aerospace, yeah.
aerospace, cyberspace.
Yeah, they knew.
They
know
know
what they want.
They know
That's
what
right.
they want to do.
That's
And you
right.
know what the most important thing that I learned from them? One of the fellows said to me, the reason I want this so badly is because I've watched my friends go to college,
Right.
and they came back the same way they went. There was nothing changed about them.
Right.
I know if I go in the military,
change.
I am going
That's
to
right.
change.
That's right.
And
Good
I
good
was
them.
so excited about that.
I'm curious, did you find the girls or the boys, who was more passionate? Or was it equal?
I would say it's equal.
Okay.
I would
I
agree.
was
The
just curious.
passion.
I would agree.
Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay,
As
yeah.
a matter
Okay.
of fact, the last two candidates, one was male, one was female.
Right.
And they were talking about going to the academy, and both of them had very similar interests.
Oh, okay.
Both of them wanted to fly, and they were taking their private pilot's license at high school age, okay? And then they said, you know, in order to be able to do a better job for our fellow male and female the active duty, we also are qualified for scuba. So if it's up in the air or down in the ocean,
love
we're ready. And this was before
Talk
they
about
even went.
swimming. I love it.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Oh, my. Well,
yeah.
now, so let's get back to how long were you in Desert Storm? How long was
I was actually in the desert 4 months. Then when I came back,
I could not do that because my hairdresser, I would just never do that.
Well, you know, this is an interesting thing. A little aside,
Okay.
because you know, it doesn't matter where you're at. Women find a way to get
Thank you.
things done.
You're right.
And so I had to have a different hairstyle when I was there.
Right.
And I, you know, and it was fine because I tried something different.
Right.
And I had to accommodate to that environment.
right.
So I was there for 4 months. It seemed like an eternity because, you know, you're put in an environment that is so different
Yes.
from any base that you've ever served in. And, you know, first of all, we lived in tents. And they were very nice tents, by the way. They were temper tents.
Wow.
And if
What is
you-
a temper tent?
A temper tent really is an environmentally controlled temp. So we can either have,
Oh.
it can be cool or it can be warm.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we had the best of the best.
Yeah. How many women nurses were there? I mean,
I had.
and I know there are men nurses also, as we
Right.
we're seeing in a
Yeah.
picture now.
Right, right. I had about 20 nurses there.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
okay.
and we, you know, we had different shifts.
Yes.
And we were from all over the country.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
that's...
we were from all over the country: East Coast, West Coast, Midwest.
How long
South.
were your shifts, Bruce?
They were usually about 12 hours. Yeah, usually about 12 hours. And I'll give you a typical day. So the typical day, I would get up about 5. We'd have our briefing about 6 o'clock. Briefing meaning our intelligence briefing, where we were going to go, what we were going to find, any of the things that were going on that we needed to be aware of,
right.
so that we could provide a safe environment
Right.
for the patients. And then we would do our briefings with the flight crew, and then the medical crew had their own briefings.
Right.
And then we would get a briefing about the patients that we were going to carry, that we were going to pick up.
okay.
So,
So they already knew the patients that you were going to take
Yes.
on that.
yes,
Okay.
we had what we
okay.
call an air coordinating center, and this center was responsible for coordinating all the aeromedical evacuation for that area that I was in. And so they would already have a list of all the patients, what their condition was, where we were going to pick them up, where we were going to drop them off, and anything that they needed while we were in flight.
Another question. Did you have surgeons on board the ship?
Well,
I mean, sometimes, they need it now, not
Yeah.
an hour from now.
Well, this is an interesting thing because in Desert Storm, we actually did an experiment.
okay. Are we ready
And-
for this? Go ahead. I love it.
And it was a wonderful experiment, and that to me was the best thing that I learned in that whole experience was that you can take people from another environment and put them in your environment, and they can operate as efficiently as as they would anywhere. And so, since you asked me about surgeons,
Yes.
we had what we call critical care teams. We call them CCAT teams.
CCATs.
CCATs, critical care
Which included
air teams,
a-
which included a physician
Okay.
and a trauma surgeon. And
Ooh.
so
wait,
they-
wait a minute. A physician, doctor, I get
Yes.
that, and a trauma.
and a surgeon.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so this team would come in, and
Would they be on every flight?
they were on most of the flights.
Wow.
Yes. And what they did is they reported to me because I was the medical crew director on the flight. So I had the overall responsibility in coordinating what went on
Right.
in the back of the aircraft. So these critical care team doctors came on board, and they reported in, and I said, "These are the patients we're going to have,
Oh, wow.
and these are the most severe. So you're going to be taking care of those." So they had specific patients that they would be assigned to, and so
Okay.
if we had somebody that was critical, I would assign them to that critical care team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that
And-
was fabulous because they knew they could maybe think ahead of time before they got to where you were picking
And
the
they
people
had
up.
all their equipment with them.
Yes,
They had a
yes.
big duffel bag, and they carried all their equipment because they were mobile team members. So they would go from base to base, wherever they were needed, aircraft to aircraft. And so they would carry their equipment with them.
Now, when I was in the service in the 60s, most of the people who needed medical treatment above and beyond the normal were sent to Germany.
Yes.
Is that where did the more critical patients who weren't able to go all the way to the United States, is Germany still sort of the capture point?
Germany was the hub when I was in the
Okay.
Middle East.
Oh, wow.
And so my mission was just to carry the patients, what we call in the theater of operation,
Okay.
just in the Middle East.
So you went from say you were at Desert Storm. Where would be the next stop that you would make with them?
We would pick up patients in Iraq.
Right.
We would pick them up in northern Saudi Arabia, and we would take them to a base that was near Riyadh.
Wow.
Near Riyadh, near the capital, and we would drop them off there. The patients then were further evaluated, and if they needed more definitive care, they would go on to Germany, just as you, to Landstuhl was
Okay, yeah.
the name of the Army center there. And if they didn't need that much medical care,
Right.
they would stay in that area, get the care they needed for the next week or so,
And then go back.
and then they would go back to their
Go
assignment.
back.
Got it.
What in thinking back to that time and everything, what would you say was the most harrowing experience that you thought, oh my Lord, at that time? Did you have one that was like shaking ones to the core of your boots, if you know, your Air
Yeah.
Force boots, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, before, when I first got to Saudi Arabia,
Were you ready for that at that time?
Well,
I mean, wow.
I have to tell you, Pink, before I left,
God bless you.
my husband said to me, now, you know, it was really surreal because here I was in my uniform at the flight line, getting on the aircraft, and there my husband was standing as a civilian waving me goodbye. But one of the
Wow.
things he said to me was, remember, you received all this training. You're the best trained you can ever be.
Wow.
And I remembered that in when I had
Right,
to
right. It's a beautiful thing for him to say. Wow.
Yes, it
That's why they're
was.
happy. That's why they're happily married. I get it.
Thank you.
So go ahead. You were telling me.
So what I was going to say, I think the most the thing that I'll always remember is being in Saudi Arabia, and we would have don our chemical gear because you know they were it was you know the threat of chemicals in Desert Storm was very, very high.
right.
So we took our chemical gear with us. And each night, I have to say, for 2 weeks straight, we, you know, the sirens would go off, which was the sign to put on our chemical gear.
Oh, boy.
And when you put the chemical gear on, it's a suit. And so it's a two-piece suit, top, bottom, and then you put the hood on. So you were
Oh.
completely covered.
Wow.
And
That's
if
gonna
you
be
have,
scary.
if you have any kind of uncomfortableness in being in a confined space, I have to tell
You're in
you, it
trouble.
would be.
It's not for you.
Yeah,
It-
yeah,
yeah.
you're in
And
trouble.
but fortunately, training here in the United States before going there made all the difference in the world because I knew what to expect. And if I got a little bit anxious, I knew I could control my breathing.
right.
And I knew that I was going to be safe. And so I would say that's probably the one thing that I'll
Right.
always remember from that
Wow.
experience, having worn that chemical gear and as much as maybe 8 hours at a time.
Oh, wow. God bless you. As I said, from my audience to Dove and I, we thank you for your service. A question. Now, this is a good question, everybody, because we all want to know this. How did a beautiful young lady from, where were you from originally?
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, Illinois, get to be a brigadier general? I mean, I'm sitting here with a...
And
Yes.
you have to explain to
Okay.
the civilians out there the difference.
Okay,
How many
tell 'em the
stars
difference.
are the different
Okay, you
generals
tell 'em.
in the Air Force?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know.
They don't. So there are there are 4 stars,
Okay.
and I was a 1 star, so I was a brigadier general.
You're a 5-star in my world, so I
Thank
don't
you.
care about that.
But I have to tell you, it was not something that I really aspired to.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
because you know, I enjoyed my time in the military. I loved what I was doing. Yes, I enjoyed getting promoted.
Yes.
And when I got to about the lieutenant colonel mark, I had to make a decision. And the
Okay.
decision was to go to Washington, D.C. I was offered a position in Washington,
Oh.
D.C., and I had to have a talk with my husband
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
you pick up moving,
And
right.
he said to me, "This is a chance in a lifetime for you. I know that this is going to make a big difference in your career." And so he was the one that really encouraged me to go to Washington. And that really was, you know, I worked with many people there.
And how long were you there?
I was there for 9 years.
Wow.
And my husband was here. Yeah, my
See,
husband.
it was a commuting type of relationship.
We were
Wow.
geographically separated
Oh,
for
my
9
God.
years. I mean,
my
of
God.
course, I'd come back here
Well,
and visit,
sure, but
and
still.
he'd come there.
Right.
But it was very different. And while I was there, I got promoted to colonel. And you know, obviously did a terrific job
Yeah.
because then they tapped me for my 1 star, and it was the day that my general from the Pentagon called me and told me that I got promoted.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I called, you know, my parents and
Right,
my husband,
right.
And my dad, who served as a private in World War II,
Oh my goodness. Okay.
said to me on the phone, "My daughter, the general?
Do I have
can't
to
believe it."
salute? I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And when did now? How many stars now again as a brigadier?
1 star.
One star.
One star.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And
Lord.
sitting in that seat, we were honored to have 2-star
Oh, Peter
Gravitt and
Yes.
his wife, Colonel Blanche Gravitt.
Yes.
And we ran that show on Veterans Day.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
And they
Yeah.
were
They're adorable couple.
Adorable
Yeah.
couple.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot. Now, as a brigadier
Mm-hmm.
general, well, first I'm going to go back a little. When you first started to get up the ranks
Mm-hmm.
of, in the military here, how did you find the reaction? And did you find resistance as far as anybody out there kind of not understanding who you were and kind of giving you not an easy
Are you
time?
asking if there are chauvinists in the
Yes,
military?
Ruth, that's why you need them around.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Anytime.
much. Yes, we're there.
Yes.
Yes. You
The
see?
answer is yes to
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't change.
And but I have to tell you,
How did you handle it? I'm curious.
being professional
There you go.
and
You're right.
it's not about saying I'm better than you or you're better than me.
Right.
Any of that. It's about doing your job well.
Yeah.
And staying focused on the mission.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
And say,
During this period of time, there was a lot going on with nurse practitioners.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about how that came into the service
Oh.
and what your part in that was,
Yes.
if you would.
I had been in the military about 4 years, about 4 years. And I went to a new base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's called Kirtland Air Force Base.
oh, okay.
And one day the chief nurse said to me, well, she said, you're at a rank now that you need to have more responsibility. I was a captain at the time.
Oh, okay.
And she said, I need somebody to work in pediatrics.
Ah.
And she said, and since you're senior ranking from the other nurses that I have, I'd like for you to take over pediatrics.
Oh, wow.
And, I was always, I was one of these people that I said, I'll try anything once. And so I became a pediatric charge nurse.
Oh,
So I did that for about a year. And then one day.
Pediatrics is children.
Children.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you. So one day, that same chief nurse came to me and she said, you know what? I have an opportunity for you. She said, the military would like to send you to school to become a nurse practitioner. We're starting a new program in the
Wow.
military.
Can you explain that to our audience?
And what that
please?
a nurse practitioner is someone that has experience and an advanced degree and works with physicians side by side in taking care of children that that need everyday care. We did well baby clinics. We did what we call continuity clinics, meaning children would come in, they would be sick. I could follow up on their care. It didn't require something that a physician could do
Right.
at his or her
Now,
level.
could you write prescriptions?
Yes,
See,
yes, correct.
that's the big difference.
And
I
that
think.
is the
Right,
difference,
that's
yes.
the difference.
I could
There you
write
go.
prescriptions
I mean, you're like a doctor, really and truly.
but
Not
no
like
MD
it.
degree. No
Yeah,
MD
right,
degree.
I get it. In my world, I praise you for that. That was wow.
Thank you. So I went to school. I went to the University of Virginia back in Charlottesville.
And for how long?
I was there for 1 semester.
Okay.
And then I came back to my base and I had what we call a preceptorship for a year.
And what does that mean?
Preceptorship means working side by side with the physicians and sharing the cases and talking about how that individual needs to be treated
Wow.
and how they need to be what kind of diagnosis
Right,
they might
right.
have and what we could do to help them.
Wow, and how long did you said how many years were you in the,
I did that for a year.
for a year?
Yeah, I did it for a
Wow.
year. And then after that, I took what we call a certification exam. And I passed my certification
Oh, bless you,
exam.
Ruth.
And then I was a certified pediatric nurse
I'm
practitioner.
proud to be a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And so for those who aren't familiar with the terms, when we think about doctors doing residency, doing their year of specialty, that's pretty much akin to what you were doing
Yes.
to get to the
Right.
level of proficiency where you didn't need the supervision, you could become the supervisor.
Yes.
Is that a pretty fair?
That's
okay.
Yeah.
very,
Just
very
checking,
good.
just
Very
checking.
good, Doug.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
now, you are now, okay, you were appointed as Director of Department of Military and Veteran Affairs.
Mhm.
When was that? That was, what, 2013? I think it was?
Yeah, I started with the
Okay.
department in August of 2012, and the CEO from the county called me one
Oh.
day, and he said, the director is ill, and I'd like for you to go over there and take care of operations on a day-to-day basis. And I said I'd be glad to.
I love this
Another
woman.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
why not? You know, another cup of coffee or, whatever.
So anyway, I started there, and after a few months, the director retired, and the CEO and the board asked me to stay on.
Wow. What type of duties and what type of things do you do?
Before you
Yes.
complete that question,
Yes.
because I know time is running,
Yeah.
I wanted, as the president of the Los Angeles National Cemetery Foundation, we know firsthand of all the work that you do. We work closely together. You work with our director, Tom Ruck, and we just started a new program, never happened in 100 years, and we have a new challenge coin for the cemetery, and on behalf of our director and our board of directors, we want to present one to you and thank you for all you've done as a leader in the military veterans affairs to make things better for our veterans, our active duty, and the families of deployed. We are in your debt, and we thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the honor.
And you have gotten so many awards. I mean, I'm just reading some of these. Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal, Air Force Excellent Award. I mean, wow. I am so proud. First of all, I'm so proud to have you as a friend. Second, I'm so proud of you being the woman that you are, Ruth, because I think our audience has gathered from just talking to you now and seeing us here with Dove that you're not only a professional in whatever you do, but there's a heart there. And there's a feeling that of service to others that you are committed to. And that's the key to a brigadier
And one of the
general.
most important elements is being a role model,
Yes.
so that both men and women can say, there is a place for me in my community,
Yes.
and hear what you've done, and know that they can do it, and that they can pick up the phone and call General Ruth Wong and say, I want to do something with my life. What can you recommend?
Yeah. And I've been there for
I'm
them.
sure.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
And I have, as on a side note, I'm very proud. I have 6 grandchildren. One of them is a nurse and pediatrics. And she loves it. She's only, going to be 28. And she was just born to it. Like you're saying, when you're born to something. Because when she wanted to become a nurse, the first thing I said, being, the way I am, I said, ooh, you got to stick a needle in somebody, the blood. She says, oh, Pink Grandma. They all call me Pink Grandma. Pink Grandma, it's only a needle. You do it very gently, and there it is. And I'm looking at her, I said, okay. You either have it or you don't have it. I mean,
I agree.
I agree. It has to be there, Ruth. And I think you, from the day that you went in and said, let's see, should it be Army, Navy, or Air Force, or whatever, you had it there. You knew what you were going to do. And all I can say is, God bless you. And God bless your husband. I mean, let me tell you, it must not have been easy. But you know what? On the other hand, kind of romantic in a way, because you kind of meet up with each other every now and then. I love it. I go by the romance.
And to be fair,
Yeah.
we've had the privilege of meeting him.
As
He
darling.
is so proud of you.
So proud.
You can see it. He doesn't have to say
No,
a word. He
right.
beams when you walk to that microphone.
Really.
Oh, thank
So
you.
tell
Again-
him we said hi.
Again, my dear audience, to have here not just Ruth Wong as a friend, because that's in itself a lot of pride for us, but to have someone who served like she has and is still serving our country. I want to know that, I know that you are proud, as we are. God bless you, Ruth Wong.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. God bless. We'll be back. Senior Star Power, we have a dream.
What'd you think of the show?
I thought it was marvelous.
Oh my gosh, it was so inspirational and it was so entertaining.
I was so impressed with all the talent.
But what comes to mind immediately, I think of Tony Bennett, Lena Horne, Angela Lansbury, all of these people who are seniors, and hey, you know, the sky's the limit.
It was a wonderful show, and I enjoyed it immensely. We enjoyed it, my wife and I, immensely.
Senior Star Power, we have a dream. Age is only a number, as you can see tonight. At any stage, one can still be vital, productive, creative, energetic, and entertaining. We have a dream.
That's Claudette, isn't it?
And it's coming. It'll be here soon. A year-round theatrical art complex for seniors. We have a dream, and it'll happen.
It's the greatest thing I've seen in months. I was so moved. And when a show can move you, that's the entire purpose of a show, of any entertainment, is to be moved emotionally. And they were all marvelous.
I loved it. It was great. I'd like to be up there with them.
I remember seeing the show they put on last year.
Right.
It was so wonderful because most all the performers were all Broadway.
Well, I think any theater will benefit Los Angeles.
It's talent across the board, you know, but it's great.
Jackie, Pink Lady, has done such an amazing job.
The demographics have changed quite a bit.
And wasn't she delightful?
Yes.
I mean, wow, what a woman. Brigadier General Ruth Wong. I'm so proud. We've had so many phenomenal people on our shows, Dove. And first of all, everyone, it's the first time you and I are kind of sitting here.
You have a left side. I never
know.
knew that.
I know.
I always only see the right side.
Here we are. But, you know, we've had so many people, Dove, of lives well lived.
We have, and quite frankly, we can tell the audience that some of the people that are coming on the show, I had the privilege of speaking at an event yesterday with the Secretary of California Veterans Affairs,
Yes.
Dr. Vito Imbasciani.
Darling man.
And last thing he said before we left was, call my office and book me on the Pink Lady Presents.
Yes.
We were at an event for Homes for Families where we presented the keys to their very first home to a number of veterans. Some are still on active duty.
Wow.
Some have
Oh,
left
was it
the
what,
service.
about 43 homes?
43 homes. There are another 100 homes being built. And
But wait a minute, but explain, it's a community.
it's a military community helping people who normally
Right.
may or may not qualify for a VA loan.
Right.
The funding is through CalVet, which is the Veterans Homes of
Right.
California. and that's Dr. Vito Bassiani. And the other thing is, sitting in this very seat, we welcome Major General Peter Gravitt, who was the predecessor to Dr.
That's right.
Bassiani.
That's right.
And he helped establish the funding, the financing for these homes when he was the secretary.
I have to tell you something, though.
Yes.
Dove was privileged to go yesterday, and when they presented the veterans with their keys to their homes,
Yes.
what else did they do?
Well, we have another friend who has not been in this chair, but he's coming.
He's coming.
His name is David Levinson. And he started something in 1999 called Mitzvah Day, do a good deed in your neighborhood.
That's what mitzvah means.
And it evolved into Big Sunday, Big Weekend. And I got a call from him 3 weeks ago, and he said, Chaplain Dove, I have these folks that are presenting us with new bicycles and helmets. And any ideas? And I put him in touch with Donna Deutschman, the CEO.
Right.
And yesterday,
Do I have
every
an idea?
child
Yeah.
and every adult who moved into their new home
Right.
in Santa Clarita received an age-appropriate, size-appropriate bicycle and helmet.
Every one of
Every
the families.
single kid and every adult. So they not only, the adults are all excited about having their own first home. But for kids, a home, an apartment,
Right.
an RV, it's a home.
Right. It's a kid, and
But
they'll
they
make
have their
do.
own bicycle
Right.
and their own helmet. And it was exciting. It was really exciting to see. And we were there with Congress people and Board of Supervisors and the mayor and city council. Everyone got behind this project and pledged to build yet another one. And we want to thank our friend Donna Deutschman, CEO of Homes for Families, because
And
they
we
do
had
a
her on
marvelous
here
job.
a few
She was
months
on
ago.
several months ago.
Right.
It's just an amazing program, changing the lives of veterans who have given it all, put their life on the line,
Right.
and when they leave, instead of becoming homeless in many cases, they can move into their own home, in which they have invested at least 500 hours of sweat equity.
Right.
They've helped paint and build and frame.
It's so unusual because when we went one time when they were starting to do it on that project,
Yes.
the veterans themselves are painting in a house, and a driveway they're laying. I mean, really.
The gentleman who's general manager to Anheuser-Busch
Yes.
was there, Mr. Gutierrez, Eric Gutierrez, and they came with their skills, and they helped pour driveways and do sidewalks and do framing. It was a true community project. So that's exciting. So that's one of the things that we'll have ongoing. We also have a lot of celebrities that are going to be joining us from time to time. Some of them are of the younger, more active, and others are more senior. We wanted to report to the audience that one of the guests that you had, Coco York,
Oh, Coco York.
who was here in May or June.
Right.
We had a guest, Sherry Belafonte. She called Pink and she said, we're casting a show in Las Vegas.
Do you know?
Send me some talent.
Send me some talent.
And so Coco is on her way to Las Vegas, and it's exciting. We were privileged to have Peter Parker on our show. Peter has appeared in several of the musicals that Pink produced, and he and his son Christopher will be coming on. We'll tape the show sometime in January, February,
Right.
March, and we'll run it on Father's Day.
And the reason being that Christopher, his son, if you had seen a previous show of Peter when he was here singing, we also showed that his son at 6 years young was at the Crystal Cathedral singing, but not just singing. He had the poise and the voice of an angel, God-given talent. And now he's 33, and they're going to be on together.
Right.
And I think that's going to
And
be
if you want to
fun.
see that
You're right.
1-minute clip, go on to pinkladypresents.com, scroll down through the shows, and you'll find one that says Peter Parker. And when you find that show, the very first part of that interview
Right.
features Christopher singing to a standing ovation
Ovation.
at the Crystal Cathedral.
Yeah.
It was really quite something.
And there's a lot happening. I went with, before Dove and I really met and knew each other, I never realized that there was a Los Angeles National Cemetery here. I just didn't. And I have come to realize that a lot of people do not know that we have a national cemetery here, Dove. And I have enjoyed these past few years with you. Besides you, okay.
Oh, that was nice.
I know.
Just add that
I
on.
just add that on. But learning all about what the National Cemetery does and what our veterans do and the people that are helping them do.
Mm-hmm.
And you have such ideas since you're becoming president of the foundation to promote our Los Angeles National Cemetery. Like, what's just a couple of ideas? I think we have a few minutes.
One of the things that we've done is we've reached out to schools. And if
Yeah.
you are involved on a
Please.
school board,
Right.
the LA Unified School District, the parochial schools, the Jewish day schools, private schools, any school, get in touch with us at the Los Angeles National Cemetery. We want you to bring busloads of kids.
Right.
We have programs that they will find fascinating.
We have a Lincoln one coming up
Coming
in
up
February.
on Lincoln's birthday,
Fabulous,
February
man,
12th.
right.
We have
With
a
Lincoln.
six
With
foot,
Lincoln.
5-inch
Yeah.
Lincoln impersonator who will take pictures with all the kids and give them something that they can take home with the Gettysburg Address. We just did something on Veterans Day. Everyone who attended received a scroll, a parchment of Flanders Field, the poppies
It was
grow,
fabulous.
and a poppy, and just as a souvenir. Come, and it's your national cemetery. It's not ours. It's yours. And we're stewards. We're there to make it pristine, to show the respect to the 88,800 who are buried there. And we're getting ready in the spring, in April or May. We're going to open a columbarium, which will enable us to provide burial for another 90,000
Wow.
veterans. It will be for the next 50 years. I mean, again, it's your cemetery.
Right.
We've been blessed to have sitting in this chair Bobby McDonald, who's with the Buffalo Soldiers. We have 100 Buffalo Soldiers buried in our cemetery, 14 Medal of Honor recipients. I got to tell you, it's quite something. Come and learn,
Right.
and bring your kids. You will not be sorry.
I have to say this to our audience, Doug. We've been blessed these past few months by having people of lives well lived and sharing them with all of you. I want to thank you, each and every one of you out there as our audience, individually, to thank you for watching Pink Lady Presents and sharing with us people who are giving back to their community a whole different aspect of life, meaning to give back to the world what they have worked so hard to do. Our veterans, we had on an artist, Chow Young, with all his paintings, giving the world a new aspect of peace and unity. Again, I want to thank everyone. From Chaplain Dove and I, God bless everyone. Thank you.
You're listening to Pink Lady Presents, only on LA Talk Radio.